11, and 12. I'm going to start by moving everything to one side, and I'm going to move it to the side that has the x squared. When this 8 moves over, it's going to be subtracted. And I want to make sure I don't make any initial small mistakes. Okay, all looks good. Now, is this factorable? 1 times 15 is 15. Can I think of two numbers that multiply to give 15 and combine to give us -8? -3 and -5. Multiply and combine, awesome. X minus 3, x minus 5, and I'm going to set each one of these factors equal to 0 and solve. And so when I do that, I get one answer of 3, and I get the other answer of 5. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my number line right now. Let's see if I have enough room here. Another really small mistake is sometimes students will put the larger number to the left, so the smaller numbers to the left, the larger numbers to the right. I come back here and I could see that I need to include this. So I'm going to put a dot at 3 and a dot at 5, which is going to represent as part of the solution set. And then I'm just going to choose numbers. I'm going to start with a number to the left of 3. The easiest number I can think of is 0. So I come up here and I'm going to plug it in after I move 8 to the opposite side. So I move 8 over. I'm going to plug this in and see if this is true. I'm looking at this rewritten. So I rewrote this inequality. Let's plug in 0. 0 squared minus 8 times 0 plus 15. Is this quantity greater than or equal to 0? Yeah, 15 is greater than 0. That's a true statement. I plugged in something to the left of 3. It made sense. That means all values 3 and to the left are part of the solution set. Now I'm going to plug in a number in between, like 4. So I'm going with 4 squared. There is 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 15. I get an answer of -1. Is -1 greater than or equal to 0? No, -1 is not greater than 0. I leave that blank. I choose any number to the right of 5, like 6. 6 squared minus 8 times 6 plus 15. I get an answer of 3. Is 3 greater than 0 or equal to? Yes, it is. The key is or. It doesn't have to be both. Is it greater than or equal to? Yes. One of those two is true. This is the solution set for number 10. Let's look at number 11. Let's move that 10 over. When the 10 moves over, it becomes a -10. I'm left with nothing now on the right-hand side. Is this factorable? Do I know two things that multiply to equal 30 and combine to give us a -13? Let's see. Different signs, and the larger is negative. Okay. -15 and +2. So I have 3x squared, and I'm going to go back to the way that I taught you guys before. And here is a -15x and a +2x. Okay, so remember these are the two numbers that help me solve this code, multiplies and combines. What can I take out of the first two? 3x, to be left with x minus 5. I rewrite x minus 5, and in front, what times 2 is 2x? And is +2 times -5, -10? It sure is. The front and back both have the quantity x minus 5. In front of the first part is 3x. In front of the second part is a +2. I'm going to take both of those quantities. I'm going to set them equal to 0 and solve. So x minus 5, set it equal, add 5 to both sides and get x equals 5. I'm going to go back now again, and I'm going to take 3x plus 2 equals 0. So first I don't have much room here. First I'm going to subtract the 2 over. So 3x equals -2. Then I'm going to divide by 3, and I get -2/3. Okay, I don't have much room here. Let's see if I can draw a space right up here, and I'm going to move this down so you guys can see it. Okay, here is my number line for number 11. So I have a 5 and a -2/3. The negative always has to go, obviously, to the left of the positive. So -2/3 and 5. Now notice we have a less than or equal to. So at both of these places, I'm going to fill them in. I choose any negative number that is less than this. And for some students, they're like, I don't know what that really means. So if I turn my calculator on here, if my calculator turns on, I just put new batteries in here. Hold on. Well, those new batteries don't seem to work. Give me 1 second here. Otherwise, I'll just pull up my phone. Give me 1 second. Sorry. By the way, I know you're happy to have a calculator at home that you can use. Sometimes in this space right in here, you need to like go through and make sure that there's no erosion. Sorry. Hopefully this works. Or I will grab. That is not working. So I'm going to grab my cell phone. I'm going to put this on pause so we don't waste any more time. All right, back with you, and change the batteries. Instead of using my cell phone, this will speed things up. I choose any number to the left. So again, like I said, if you plug in 2/3, so remember it was a negative, so negative 2/3. So any number that's less than negative 0.66. I could use -1 or -2. I'm going to plug it into this rewritten inequality. So you have to keep it in parentheses when you plug it in. I'm going to plug in -1. I have 3 times -1 squared minus 13 times -1 minus 10 is 6 less than or equal to 0. Now 6 isn't less than 0. So what does that mean? It means I don't shade anything here. I choose any number in between. Well, 0's in between. So here we go. We have 3 times 0 squared minus 13 times 0 minus 10. Is -10 less than or equal to 0? Yes, it is. So I come up here, I chose a number in between. It was a true statement. I shaded in between. Anything to the right of 5, like 6. So I have 3 times 6 squared minus 13 times 6 minus 10. Is 20 less than or equal to 0? No. That is my final answer for number 11. Let's look at number 12. Okay, number 12. I underline the first 2. I can factor out a 2x squared. I'm left with x plus 4. Let's make sure I did this right. 2x squared, 2x cubed plus 8x squared. And I'm going to rewrite x plus 4. What quantity times x gives us a -3x? And -3 times 4 is -12. Okay, so the front and the back both have the quantity x plus 4. In front of the first part is 2x squared. In front of the second is -3. Take each one of these quantities and set it equal to 0. X plus 4 equals 0. 2x squared minus 3 equals 0. Now I got to write small. I may even have to go onto a separate piece of paper. So one solution is -4. I'm going to add 3 to the opposite side to get 2x squared equals 3. Divide by 2. I have x squared equals 3 over 2. And now this tells me I'm going to have 2 solutions. That's where we get the plus or minus. I'm going to jump onto this extra paper. Actually, I have paper right here. Okay, so I have x squared. And by the way, we can break this into the square root of 3 over the square root of 2. This tells me I have the 2 answers. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 3 over the square root of 2. No part of that is wrong, but we don't want to leave our final solutions at this level of math with a radical on the bottom. It's just not proper. So how do we change this? How do we keep this value the same but rewrite it in an equivalent manner? We're going to take whatever the denominator is and we're going to multiply it exactly like it is to the top and bottom. And 3 times 2 is 6, and 2 times 2 is 4. And now the square root of 4 is 2. If you plug this into your calculator, it would be equivalent to plugging this into the calculator. And you're going, well, why do I have to do that? Because at this point in your math career, you need to rationalize the denominator to ensure that your final answer doesn't have a radical in the denominator. Okay, these are my other 2 answers. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and write down my answers. I have x equals 4, x equals positive radical 6 over 2, and x equals negative radical 6 over 2. So I make myself a number line. Now obviously I know the negative goes over here, but I'm going, is 4 larger? Wait, which one of these is larger? So I'm just going to grab a calculator. Square root of 6, press enter, then divided by 2. Okay, so this is equivalent to about 1.2. Obviously 4 is greater. So we have our 3 different solutions here. And now I go back to the original equation. Notice that it's just greater than. There's no line underneath, so I'm going to put open circles at each one. Okay, then I'm just going to choose a number that's, again, to the left, in the middle, and to the right. And I'm sure there's a rule in that video that is a shortcut. Use the shortcut if you remember that. So I know that this divides to 1.22. So this is about negative. This is about negative 1.22. This is positive 1.22 and 4. I'm just doing that so I have an idea of what I can choose. Anything to the left, this like -2. And I'm going to come back, I'm going to plug it into this. Now, I wrote a lot on that, so I'm going to write it down a little bit neater. I want to know when I plug in anything to the left of this value, like -2. So anytime we plug something in, we have to put it in parentheses. So there's my first one. And you know, I may have to put this in like this in parentheses because this is the old school type of calculator. So -2 raised to the third, okay, got it, plus 8 -2 squared minus 3 times -2 minus 12. All right, so I plugged in everything. Again, these are old school compared to what you get to use in the classroom, and I get a value of -54. Is -54 greater than 0? Not a true statement, so I'm not going to shade right here. Now, what's in between these? Well, in between -1 point something and +1 point something is 0. Let's try 0. 0 cubed is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 squared is 0. 0 times 8 is 0. So I have 0 plus 0, -3 times 0, 0. 0, 0, 0 minus 12. That would be -12. Is -12 greater than 0? It's not true. So this is a no. This is a no. Let's try in between here. Let's try in between this part. So again, what's in between 1.22 and 4? I'm going to try like 3. Let's try 3. So I'm going to move this off to the side where you have a better visual of it. And I'm going to go 2, and then I'm going to try 3 because it's in between these two values. 3 to the third plus 8, 3 squared, minus 3 times 3, minus 12. Is 105 greater than 0? It is, so I shade in between here. And I choose any number to the right of 4, like 5. 2, 5 to the third, plus 8, 5 squared, minus 3 times 5, minus 12. Is 423 greater than 0? It sure is. This is what I have for a solution set. Now I'm going to check briefly with the answer key to make sure we did this right, but this means that where you see the shading would be the correct answers. Let me just flip this over to see if we have the exact same thing. Okay. Did I mess up at the very beginning with the -4? Gosh darn it. Did I really do that? I sure did. You can see up here already that I put it, So up here I put a -4, and when I rewrote it, I put a positive. Dang it! Okay, so let me just make this number line again. This is -4. This is negative radical 6 over 2. Here is positive radical 6 over 2. We know this is about -1.2, approximately. We know this is approximately 1.2, and obviously here's -4. So, well, that really stinks. Let's try this again. We have open circles here. Again, all of this math up here is correct. Just when I rewrote it to give you guys extra space of showing you, I put a +4 instead of a -4. Darn it. So I'm going to try this again. I'm plugging into this, and I'm going to start with any number to the left of -4, like -5. So here we go. 2 times -5. Oh, here comes my son. It's not time for soccer yet, buddy. No, it's not, honey. Yeah, we got time. My son never likes to be late for practice. He likes to be there like half an hour early. Okay, so we have 2 times -5 to the third plus 8 times -5 squared, 9 minus 3 times -5 minus 12. Okay, so I plug that in. I get an answer of -447. Is -447 greater than 0? No, it's not. So I am not going to shade here. Now I'm going to choose something in between, like -3. 2 times, we have -3 to the third plus 8 times -3 squared minus 3 times -3 minus 12. Ooh, is -129 greater than 0? That's not a true statement either, so I'm not going to shade there. Now I'm going to make sure I'm not making a mistake here. We're looking at this. We're not moving. I know this does not work out, so I'm going to put an X. I'm going to go through this slower. I know 2. I'm not going back to record this. We're going to figure this out. Okay. I know in my mind that should be -54. Got it. Plus 8 times. That's negative 3 times negative 3, because that's what negative 3 squared means. Okay, got it. Minus 3 times negative 3, minus 12. Okay, I get an answer of 15. So clearly I'm a little flustered, and as I'm plugging things in, I'm messing up. I just chose a number in between this, and I chose the number negative 3. And when I plugged in negative 3, I got this answer, 15. So 15 is in fact greater than 0. This is a true statement. Benjamin, I'm tutoring right now. I need it quiet. Okay, right now, Ben, I'm tutoring right now. It's possibly the worst, the worst video I've made, but I'm not remaking it. So in between here is 0. Now, by the way, I've already come up here and I've tested, right? I've tested in between negative 1.22 and positive 1.22, and I tested 0, and I didn't shade here because it didn't work. So the same thing, I'm not shading here. So this area worked, no, and I'm going to check over here. So I'm going to choose anything to the right of 1.2, like I can choose 2, for instance, and I'm going to plug this in. 2 times 2 to the third, get an answer, plus 8 times 2 squared, get an answer, minus 3 times 2, get an answer, minus 12. Is 30 greater than 0? It is. That was brutal. I am so sorry if you held tight there, but here are your answers. If we did a pretty version of this, this is negative 4. This is negative radical 6 over 2. Here's positive radical 6 over 2. We have circles here because it doesn't have a line underneath, and I'm shading in between here and off to the right. Oh, thanks for staying with me. That was ugly.